everybody. In this video, we're going to talk about approval voting and how to find the winner of an approval vote. So take 3 deep breaths and let's make this math easy. All right, so approval voting is one of the methods of voting that we're going to learn about in this unit. And the way that approval voting works is you list out all of the options that you're voting between. So in this case, it looks like a group of friends is voting between 3 different movies. And each person looks at each option and decides whether or not they approve of that option. So for example, Anne approves of the Titanic and the Matrix, but she doesn't want to watch the Scream. And each person goes through and records which options they approve of, and then they leave blank spaces for the ones that they don't approve of. And when you do an approval vote, the way that you determine the winner is you just count how many approvals each option has. So for example, in this one, the Titanic has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that approve of it. And so it would have a score of 5. And then the Scream has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 votes for that movie. And then the Matrix has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 votes for that movie. And so in this case, the Matrix would be the winner by approval voting because it has the most people who approve of it. And so that's the way that approval voting works, and that's how you determine the winner. Now, a lot of the time, we'll have approval voting summary tables. Instead of having each person's vote, you might have a summary table that says how many people voted the same way. So, for example, I could say I have the Titanic, the Scream, and the Matrix. And if I make a table to represent these votes, I could summarize the information that we had on the last slide by saying, okay, well, Bob chose the Scream and the Matrix, but Alice also had that vote. She was also fine with watching Scream or the Matrix, and so was Lupe. And so rather than writing out Bob and Alice and Lupe's vote, I can just put a 3 up here in the top of the column to show that there are 3 people that voted that way. Then I can say Anne voted for the Titanic and the Matrix, and so I can cross those off. And it looks like Anne and Jim both had that same vote. And so I could put a 2 in that column to show that there were 2 people that voted that way. And then I could say Marv, it looks like, was fine with any of the movies. And he was the only one, so I would just put a 1 there because there's 1 person who voted that way. And that would take care of this one. And then it looks like Eve voted for only the Matrix, and I believe she's the only one who did that, so I'll put a 1 there. And then Omar voted for Titanic and Scream, and he was also the only one who did that, so I'll put a 1 there. And Dave voted for only the Titanic, and Tish voted for only Scream. And so this would be a summary table of what we saw on the last slide. And you would still determine the approval vote results in the same way. You would just add up the numbers of how many people had voted each way. So for example, for the Titanic, you would say, well, there were 2 people plus 1 person plus another person plus another person. And that's how you would figure out that the Titanic score was a 5. Or for Scream, you would say 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 would be 6 people who had voted for Scream. And that's how you would use an approval voting summary table. Because a lot of the time, you're not just going to have a small number of people who are voting. You might have like 30 or 40 or even hundreds of people that are voting. And so you don't really want to list out a list of 100 people's votes. It's much easier to summarize it based on how many people voted the same way. So let's go ahead and practice this. This summary table summarizes the approvals of a group of people based on the 3 different options that I've listed here for pizza in Cedar City. So pause this video and determine which one of these 3 pizza options would win this approval vote, and then restart the video to see how I solved it. Okay, so the way that we would look at this is we'd say, okay, well, how many people have approved of going to Centro? Well, there's 13 plus 8 plus 5 plus 1. And if I do 13 plus 8 plus 5 plus 1, that gives me a total of 27 votes for Centro. And then for Pizza Cart, I have 13 plus 9 plus 5 plus 6. And if I calculate that out, that gives me a total of 33 approval votes for Pizza Cart. And then I can do the same thing for the Hub, and I can say, well, I have 8 people plus 5 people plus 2 plus 6. And all of those people approve of the Hub, so we'll do 8 plus 5 plus 2 plus 6. And that tells me that there are 21 people who approve of the Hub. And so based on these results, the winner of this approval vote would be the Pizza Cart. So that's how approval voting works. And if you have any questions, please let me know.